Welcome back, everybody, to the SOS Stacey on Sports podcast show. Back here again, 2 out of 2, double episode, 1 week. I am your host, the voice of sports, Stacey Carter II. With me, joining me once again, Toronto's own Ben Okazawa. Ben, what's up? How you doing?
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me back. This is the 4th time.
Oh yeah. I'm glad you're here. You know, everybody is being very insightful, always have great points. How you feeling? I know you don't want to answer this question, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. How you feeling about your Miami Dolphins?
Next question. Let's move on. No, man, I don't know. I felt like last season we were way better than we were this season. Made some questionable off-season moves. Signed Kyle Van Noy to a big contract, and then just cut him right after that. Traded Shaq Lawson for nothing, and our defense isn't looking too good. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But I mean, at this point, 4 losses is, and with still some tough teams left to play, we still got to play the Bills again too. So it's not. I don't have super high hopes, but I don't know. We could potentially turn it around. We've done it before. Come up to a rough start and then turn things around in the back half of the season. So luckily, we've got the Jags up next, so that's a good thing.
Now, I don't know. That might not be a shoe-in like you think, but let's go on to something a little bit positive, which is the episode itself. We got a nice episode. We're going to be talking about Kyrie Irving. Got some Kyrie Irving news, some new development. Going to talk about Ben Simmons. That's developing as well. We got some NFL stories. Of course, towards the end, I got to do my fun time, random questions. And we got to talk about your Toronto Raptors because the NBA season is right around the corner. But first, let's go ahead and start with Kyrie Irving. Now, here's the story. Kyrie Irving is currently unvaccinated. He's currently unvaccinated. I believe he doesn't believe in the vaccination and looks like he's not going to get it, at least for a long time. New York passed a law in which that if you're not vaccinated, you can't enter certain arenas, certain places. That includes the Barclays Center, in which Kyrie Irving will miss 41 home games off the bat. And also San Francisco passed the same thing. So that's 42 games. So you won't be able to play against the Warriors. So it was going to be very hard for him. The NBA is present forthwith. If you're not vaccinated and you are out of games because of that, you will not get paid. There's a lot of money Kyrie's going to miss. I think he's due for like over $30 million this year. And so a new story has developed that the Nets will not let Kyrie Irving participate in practices nor in the games until he is vaccinated, until he at least gets the first shot. Now, obviously, this will put a dent into the Nets' plans. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden all got together to go for a championship, to win the championship. James Harden trying to get his first ring. And now we have this. Kevin Durant had an interview in which, he on one side, he was backing Kyrie, but on the other side, he's like, come on, Kyrie, we need you here. We trying to win a championship. So it's a dicey situation for Kyrie Irving and for the Brooklyn Nets. What do you think the Brooklyn Nets should do with Kyrie Irving going forward now that he's, for right now, not going to be a part of their plans?
It's tough. I mean, outside of what they've already done, it's not a whole lot else that they can do. I think they should trade him because at this point, he's not going to be able to play home games. That's half your games. And he's not going to be able to play in a city like you said, San Francisco either. So if they're playing the Warriors this year, I'm not sure if they got them on their schedule that he won't be able to play against them and he won't be able to play at home. And it might be the case that more cities start popping up where they implement similar rules and regulations, and he won't be able to play there either. So having a guy like that on your team, as talented and kind of generationally skilled as he is, it's not really worth it in the end. And he is going to lose a lot of money, but at the same time, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who will back down off of this, which it's one thing. And as the Nets GM said in his statement, you respect an individual's right to choose. Mm-hmm. But when, certain things are in place that will restrict you from playing basketball at all, the Nets don't really have any other options outside of what they've already done. So I think they should trade him. But the issue at this point is it's going to be tough to trade him to a team that will give you full value back, because obviously there should be concerns. And Kyrie already is a bit unpredictable as far as you don't know if he's going to play on a game-to-game basis. He might just leave town for 3 days and not tell anyone why, or we at least as fans don't know why. So he's already a bit unpredictable in that sense. And then when you look at it just from, if more cities start implementing that vaccine rule, he won't be able to play as many games either. So his trade value is going to be low, but I'm not sure what other options they have at this point.
On a previous episode with my boy DeAndre Brand, shout out to DeAndre Dre, he thinks that Kyrie should be traded as well, but he also proposed a trade with Kyrie for Ben Simmons. You think that's a viable trade right there?
It would be interesting for sure. It would be one of those situations where it's kind of win-win, because we know that obviously Ben Simmons is a lot better at basketball, Kyrie is a lot better at basketball than Ben Simmons. But the one thing that Ben Simmons has on Kyrie, is availability. And that's sometimes the best ability is availability, obviously. So him, and I think he would mesh well in that offense too, because he doesn't have to do the bulk of the scoring. He's already got two guys on that team who are two of the best scorers, not just in the league right now, but of our generation of all time, in James Harden and Kevin Durant. So he can focus more so on playmaking and defense and just scoring easy buckets around the rim. He doesn't even necessarily have to develop a shot. I still think he should. But that doesn't have to be at the top of his priority list the same way it is in Philadelphia, where he has a much larger role in terms of scoring. And then on the other hand, Kyrie will be able to play at least home games for now in Philadelphia. So I think obviously Philadelphia would probably have to throw in some extra pieces to make it worth Brooklyn's while. But I could see it happening straight up as well, just because, like I said, of Kyrie's lack of availability in Brooklyn. They're either getting no Kyrie, no nothing in return for him, or they can at least get Ben Simmons in return. So if I were the Nets GM, I would consider it for sure.
Yeah. Well, first, on a personal level about Kyrie's vaccination status, personally, I don't care whether he's vaccinated or not. Like you said, that's a decision. That's a personal decision. There are people that are still uncomfortable and uneasy for whatever reason about getting the vaccination. Me personally, I'm like, long as you wear a mask and you unvaccinated, you fine with me. Because I had reservations about getting the vaccine at one point, but I got my first shot and then I'm about to get my second soon. So I'm there with that. But as far as the basketball side of it, the business aspect, yeah, Kyrie, you gotta go. You gotta go. They got together to win the championship, and Kyrie, he is eccentric, he is strange. He lives in his own world, which he should do what he's comfortable doing. But at the end of the day, if you're not there on the floor, like you say, if you're not available, then you can't be here on this team. And we trying to win the championship. We gonna sort of need you to put us over the top. That's how I'm thinking if I'm KD. That's how I'm thinking if I'm James Harden. And it got to be done. It got to be traded. It's yet to be seen if other cities, especially major cities, going to put in this same ruling as New York and San Francisco. But for now, he can go to another team like the Philadelphia 76ers and still play majority of the games. And of course, he's still gonna have to miss the ones in those cities, but it gotta happen. Then you can't keep his contract on your books for much longer. Like I said, he's due $30 million this season. So unfortunately, the Brooklyn Nets gonna have to cut ties with him. And it's gonna be unfortunate for Kyrie, who, he was easing when he was with the Celtics, he was easing his way to Brooklyn. The Nets is his childhood team. So yeah, it's a very sticky situation for both sides involved. But that's every choice you make comes with a consequence, good or bad. And if you're going to be unvaccinated, unfortunately, you're going to have to face a lot of roadblocks, especially now they making this thing more mandated than ever before. Let's look at the Brooklyn Nets this coming season. Without Kyrie, looks like they're going to be without him for a while at least. Do you think they're still the NBA title favorites or amongst the favorites without Kyrie Irving?
I do. Yeah, I think it's tough to really name too many other teams who can match the Nets, not only in terms of star power, which even if you take out Kyrie, having Harden and KD on the same team is very tough. But they surprisingly have strong depth as well. I mean, Cam Thomas has shown incredible flashes in summer league and preseason play. Obviously, you still have guys like Joe Harris, Nick Claxton, even guys like Tyler Johnson coming off the bench. So yeah, I don't think like Bruce Brown as well. I don't think they should be counted out if Kyrie's not there. There are of course other teams like the Bucks who I think would absolutely pose a threat. They beat the Bucks, or sorry, the Bucks beat the Nets with Kyrie last year, and obviously there was Harden who was injured, and then Kyrie missed a couple games. But I mean, the Bucks with Giannis and Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton are a tough team as well. So I think those two are kind of at the top of my list, and then you got some teams out west as well that definitely pose a threat. So I think without Kyrie, the Nets might not be the clear standalone favorite that they once were, but they're absolutely a contender.
Yeah, they still a contender in my eyes too. I brought this up. I'm gonna bring it up again. It's a weird thing. As much as I love Kyrie's game. He's a fantastic player. He will win you games. Without him, the team's still the same. And that's just not with the Brooklyn Nets. That's also been seen with the Boston Celtics. Without Kyrie Irving, the Boston Celtics still went to an Eastern Conference Finals. Without Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn, they still went up to a 6 seed. They was in the playoffs, and they pushed the 76ers to 6 games. So it's like, yes, you want Kyrie on your team, but at the same time, in a strange way, you don't need him. I mean, they still have James Harden, who he can score too, and he's also a better facilitator than Kyrie Irving. So they still gonna be amongst the top favorites to come out the East and go to the NBA Finals, even without Kyrie Irving. But I think for like a certain few teams, I would say the Bucks, I would say the Lakers, they're gonna need Kyrie Irving to get over them. But as far as everybody else, I mean, I think they can pretty much handle everybody else. So
Absolutely. Yeah, agreed.
So we got that going for Kyrie. Let's see how that unfolds. Moving on. We already brought up Ben Simmons. Let's continue with that. Next topic is Ben Simmons. At first, Ben Simmons was like, I don't want to be in Philly anymore. He wanted to move on. They tried to fly out to his home to talk to him. He shut that down. He was willing to sit out, get traded, but the 76ers was not going to pay him. They was going to fine him, which would, be detrimental to his contract. He did sign a nice extension recently. But now the story has broke that Ben Simmons is progressing towards returning to the team, getting into practice, getting into game shape, and will eventually play for the 76ers. But the thing is, and this is still a question, should the 76ers keep Ben Simmons, or should they try to trade him once his value goes back up again?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's the latter, right? I think they should absolutely try to trade him once he establishes that he's going to play for the team again, because it's just kind of run its course, right? The Ben Simmons era in Philadelphia. They've tried several times to build good teams around him specifically, as Embiid pointed out, but around that kind of core of he and Embiid. And they have a good team. They've gotten close before. I think in 2019, if Kawhi doesn't hit that shot, the 76ers probably end up in the finals. And if the same thing goes down with Clay getting hurt, KD getting hurt, they probably win. But that wasn't the case. It didn't end up working out, and since then they've struggled to make real noise in the playoffs with Ben Simmons as their kind of centerpiece next to Joel Embiid. So I think it's time for them to trade him. But for that to happen in a fair way, because they could trade him right now and get shit all. Like, excuse my language, but if they tried to trade him right now, they wouldn't get nearly what they've been asking for. They've been asking for some ridiculous returns for Ben Simmons. And not only the fact that he sucked in the playoffs last year, he is refusing to play for your team. So his trade value is by far the lowest it's ever been. And right now, with him not playing, but potentially coming back to play, it's starting to creep back up. And when he starts actually playing again, like if he reports to training camp and he starts playing in the regular season, then it'll be sort of at a level where they could get a relatively fair return for him. And it might not be exactly what they want, but it'll be absolutely better than what they would get if they were to trade him right now, which I think they have to.
But it's almost impossible to trade Ben Simmons. I mean, not only that his mentality is in question, but that contract. Like what team is willing to take on that contract, and you don't know what you're going to give. I mean, but then again, this whole thing has been festering for like a couple years now. Ben Simmons has been unhappy in Philadelphia, which I'm starting to believe that led to his refusal to elevate his play, take jump shots, shut himself down in the fourth quarter, what have you. And I mean, I'm on board with you. He got to get traded. He got to get traded no matter what happens when he comes back, even if he buys into the team. Got to trade him. He's shown that he doesn't want to be there. He simply doesn't. I don't know why, but he doesn't want to be there. Maybe he wants to be, the tension be on him. Everything's going to Embiid. Embiid just came off an MVP caliber season. Maybe he's uncomfortable in Philadelphia. Their fans are tough. They're going to be tough on you. They're going to boo you if you don't do well. Maybe he's uncomfortable with that. But it's like you said, where he's going to go, and then if you lose Ben Simmons, you lose a lot. I mean, even though he doesn't take shots, he's still a great defender. He's still a great passer. He can get inside. He can push tempo. He can find open shooters. He does so much. But where are you going to get that value back? I did see, I'm going to ask you about this. I did see this trade proposal going around. So with the Indiana Pacers, it's like they acquire Ben Simmons, but then they'll give up Karis LeVert and Malcolm Brogdon. And I think that's a pretty good trade for the 76ers. What do you think about that?
It's an interesting one for sure. I think any Ben Simmons trade is a win-win for the Simmons, for Simmons and the Sixers, because Simmons needs to be somewhere new, and the Sixers need someone new at the helm. The Pacers, in that case, it's tough because those are two really exciting young pieces that they have, and Brogdon's kind of established himself recently as like a top 10 guard in the league. He's been really, really solid the past couple of years, and it definitely hurts to give that up. But the potential that Simmons has, and I know that obviously a refusal to develop his shot and the fact that he's been in the league for a little while now kind of could potentially scare some people off. But that's actually a pretty decent trade proposal. I mean, especially given what the Sixers have been asking, like 4 or 5 first-round picks, or they're asking for, they asked the Raptors for Lowry, Van Vliet, OG Anunoby, and Pascal Siakam. Like, if we're just giving up Karis LeVert and Malcolm Brogdon, who granted are two really good young pieces, but you've still got guys like Miles Turner there. And it's kind of been stalling for the Pacers lately. They've been kind of stuck in that like 6 to 8 seed range and haven't been able to make noise in the playoffs. So I think making a move like this, shaking things up, would potentially benefit them. And obviously, like I said, Ben Simmons wins, the Sixers win in any trade scenario for the two of them.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out. We'll see what happens going forward. Hopefully Ben Simmons can get himself right, because I am a fan of his game personally. But I mean, Philly just not it for him, and he's not it for Philly. let's move on to the NFL. Let's do some NFL talk. There has been a few storylines coming out this past weekend, this past Sunday, and we're going to start with them boys. How about them Cowboys? How about them Cowboys? After losing the season opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have won 4 games in a row. Played pretty solid. Dak Prescott is getting MVP looks. The defense is doing okay, led by Trey Diggs, who is just a ball hawk. He's just picking off the ball left and right. Yes, and I've seen some things where he's letting the wide receiver get past him on purpose just to pick the ball off. He's playing crazy, and despite they've been missing, key players like L. Collins, suspended. Demarcus Lawrence hasn't been there, and then they just released Jalen Smith for some reason, I don't know, but the Dallas Cowboys are doing it. And of course, the hype train always come with the Cowboys. Oh my God, here they come. They about to go to the Super Bowl, but is that a reality? Is that a reality? Can the Dallas Cowboys go to the Super Bowl?
I think, listen, the Cowboys have impressed me so far, and Trey Diggs kind of came out of nowhere. Like, we knew he was in the league. We knew he was a decent corner. Nobody, I think, expected, what does he have, 6 picks in 5 games from him?
Mm-hmm.
That's more than, double whoever's behind him in terms of interceptions in the league. And obviously, Dak Prescott had question marks. Is he going to be, the same Dak when he comes back from that injury, et cetera? Zeke has had a rough couple seasons before this one, but he's looked pretty good so far, I would say. And obviously, Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, their offense is electric. Even the guy behind him, is it Tony Pollard? The
backup running back.
Solid as well. There's still some questions around the defensive line, I would say, the front 7, especially after you drop Jalen Smith. That front 7 has some question marks around it. But the secondaries looked good with Trey Diggs kind of holding it down back there. But I would say they might be a Super Bowl contender, but I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl over teams like you got the Rams, the Buccaneers.
The Rams. Yeah.
But yeah, the Rams, the Buccaneers, I think would be both ahead of the Cowboys. I think even the Packers, even though they haven't looked phenomenal thus far, I think I would never bet against Aaron Rodgers. The man can throw the football like no other person I've ever seen, other than maybe Patrick Mahomes. Especially crunch time, he doesn't miss. My mind always goes back to that game when they played the Cardinals in the playoffs that one year, and he hit some random guy named Janis twice, Hail Marys, 4th and 20, to get them back in that game. So I would never bet against Aaron Rodgers, and the Cowboys still have some more to prove to me. They haven't been beating. They looked good against the Buccaneers, but they haven't been beating league best teams so far. You know what I mean? So
they beat the Chargers, and Chargers look fantastic.
They did beat the Chargers, and the Chargers do look good. Yeah, that's fair. But as far as the Giants last night, the other night. But no, I think they're a contender, but I haven't seen enough yet to put them over the Rams, Buccaneers, Packers.
Yeah, like I said, Dak Prescott is getting looks for MVP. Zeke, Zeke is a slow starter. He always pours it on. It takes him a few weeks, but he always get there. The offense, second in the NFL. Of course, they're gonna be second. Their offense is loaded. But are they Super Bowl? No, they're not. We've seen this before. The Cowboys, their offense will blow your mind. You can't believe the things they're doing. And then somehow, some way, they find a way to disappoint you at the very, very end. It's been the same thing over and over again. Now, last year, unfortunately, Dak Prescott got hurt. That derailed things for him early. So we don't know if, they would have got over the hump last year, but they defense is still ranked 24th in the NFL. It's still 24th, and they missing a lot of pieces. And then course, when you come back, you gotta get in game shape. I mean, they still prone to give up big plays and everything. And they haven't really blown teams out except the Giants. And the Giants, basically, they whole offense, the starters were basically gone in that game. Saquon Barkley got injured, Daniel Jones got injured, Sterling Shepard was injured, Tony, their wide receiver, injured, and on and on. So, I mean, it's hard to tell, but if history is an indication, the Cowboys are they're gonna blow it somehow. And I would love to believe in the Cowboys. I've been waiting a long time for them to, spring forth. But all that hype it's crazy. Then it just dies at the end of the season. Here we are. And I still have questions about Mike McCarthy as a coach. He has made some questionable decisions as far as clock management and everything. Like I said, their defense still needs to be tweaked. They still need to get better. I still question why they released Jalen Smith. Maybe he fell out of favor with the defensive coaches, but, they have Cowboys, they got the pieces every time, but they just fold and it's always go back to their defense. And like right now, I still don't believe in Mike McCarthy as their head coach.
Yeah, you said you're rooting for the Cowboys in a way. I'm actually actively rooting against the Cowboys. I can't nothing against the team. I actually like the team. It's just the fans, man. They got too excited, and
I was gonna bring that up. The
Exactly.
fans would. It's always the fans. It's not even the team. It's the fans, and sometimes be Jerry Jones with his little slick talk. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, I like how they look so far. They had a tough win, but they won against the Chargers, and they beating the teams that they supposed to beat. So. But for me, for the Cowboys, it's all about the end of the season for me. Let's move on to Lamar Jackson. Last night, Monday Night Football, team was down 19. Lamar Jackson lit the Colts up, comeback win, overtime. He completed over 80% of his passes. Matter of fact, this year he's throwing the ball 67% completion, and he's over 300 yards a game passing, leading the team in rushing. Once again, is an MVP candidate, might be in the front. But the question for Lamar Jackson has always been his passing in the pocket, his passing in the pocket. So is it time to give him his respect now as a complete quarterback that can throw the ball?
Yeah, I think it's been time. I think he had an MVP season in his second year in the league, and obviously that has maybe a lot to do with his ability to scramble, his rushing ability, his speed. But he wouldn't be the MVP, which is essentially the best quarterback in the league, the best player in the league, if he couldn't throw the ball. We know he can throw the ball. He's proved it time and again. He proved it very, very without a doubt last night. He was slinging it. And I think it's just a sort of prejudice in people's minds that is kind of perpetuated by the media. Like everyone's saying Lamar can't throw, he's only good for running. But I think he's made it pretty clear, especially last night and so far this season, but even ever since his second year in the league when he won MVP, he's made it pretty clear that he can throw the ball, and he's pretty damn good at it too.
Yeah, I mean, I hate that's been a question about Lamar Jackson for the longest. He can throw the ball.
Yeah.
He can throw the ball. I mean, yes, he's passing for more yards this year than ever before, but he's been a solid thrower. He's been a solid pocket quarterback. I mean, from what I've seen, the eye test and everything, there shouldn't be a question. But I think it does go to the whole black quarterback stigma. They are seen as athletes and not pocket passers. And, if you look at completion percentage right now in the NFL right now, most of the names in the top 10 are black quarterbacks. So it shouldn't have never been a question. about Lamar Jackson's passing ability. My only question about Lamar Jackson as far as passing is the playoffs. It's the playoffs. I said this when they went against the Tennessee Titans a couple years ago. I said if they make him throw the ball a lot, then they'll have a chance to win the game. And what happened in that game was Lamar Jackson threw the ball 56 times, had 20 incompletions, and threw 2 interceptions. To me, it's like you got to make those big throws. You got to make those, dink and dunk throws and manage the passing better in the playoffs, because the regular season, he's done fantastic. Like I said, he just won MVP, and that was the MVP season, actually. But, for me, it's about the next step. The next step is the playoffs for him. And getting the Baltimore Ravens to the Super Bowl. That's the only thing for me. But as far as like regular season, what he's doing now, I'm not surprised because he's a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. And he should have been got his due. I mean, he does got an MVP, but I think now he better be respected as a passer.
Yeah,
bonus. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, as far as questions about Lamar Jackson and concerns necessarily, I think my concerns about Lamar Jackson actually come more so from the rushing side of things than the passing, because he's fumbled, I'm looking at it right now, 5 times this year, and 4 of them were turnovers, right? Or sorry, 3 of them were turnovers. So when you run that much, you got to have a good grip on the ball. And that first week he fumbled 3 times, and we've seen it less so since. But even last night he fumbled, and they took it back for a touchdown, which eventually got called back. But it was a turnover for his team, and they were in the red zone. And for me, when I saw that, I was like, that might have just lost them the game. You know what I mean? And I actually turned it off at that point. And then I was checking the score, and it was like 20 seconds left to tie a game. I was like, I can't believe they came back from that. So obviously he turned it up after that, but he just needs to hold on to the ball better, which is my only concern about Lamar Jackson, and it has nothing to do with his passing ability. So I think people need to kind of get over that that bias that they have in their mind regarding Lamar Jackson's passing ability.
Yes, and also Keyshawn Johnson brought this up on ESPN on First Take. He's throwing the ball well, but the problem is, his wide receivers been dropping them. Like he was bringing up Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown been dropping passes this year. But in the Monday night game, he did, hold on to the ball, have about 9 catches. And if you look at his only reliable target in the receiving game is Mark Andrews. Yeah, and Mark Andrews had 11 catches, 2 touchdowns. Thank you very much. Got me over in fantasy. Thank you, Mark Andrews. But my thing too about Lamar Jackson is like the weapons around it. I think he need like a nice possession wide receiver, somebody who's going to hold on to the ball. And then, you can go with Hollywood Brown over the top. He is that over the top threat. But my bonus question would be is, can Lamar Jackson take the Ravens to the Super Bowl?
It's tough. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC, and the Chiefs have looked bad. The Chiefs have looked really bad. But given the talent on that team, I'm not going to count them out quite yet. But obviously, I mean, we'll talk about it in a bit, but the Bills have looked fantastic. And then you've got other teams as well throughout the AFC, like the Chargers recently have looked good. Who else in the AFC? Even the Broncos have looked strangely good so far. And they probably won't keep that up.
No, they just lost against the Steelers
past couple of weeks, yeah. But I mean, I'm not willing to put the Ravens over the Bills yet, but they might be on that same tier as the Chargers. And the Chiefs, we'll see what happens. But there's a lot of talent on that team, and definitely more talented team than the Ravens are. But what I will say about the Ravens receiving targets and the Lamar's options in the receiving, his options as receivers, when they drafted Rashad Bateman, I was pretty excited about it because I thought, man, like this is going to be a guy who can take over and be their wide receiver 1, because Hollywood Brown's been looking rough past couple of years. But we haven't seen too much from him yet. But I mean, Mark Andrews has looked good, and hopefully they can get Bateman more involved later on in the season.
Yeah. Super Bowl Ravens. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I trust Lamar Jackson. I think he's going to do well. But me, other pieces around him, you got to have somebody else that can run the ball. We all know in the playoffs, whatever you do in the regular season really don't matter because the dynamic of the game is going to change in the playoff. And Lamar Jackson is not going to be able to do as much as he's doing now. So he's going to need his other weapons to help him out. And right now, outside of him, their run game is, virtually non-existent. They got a carousel running backs right now. I don't know if his wide receivers can make the big plays. The defense up and down, they did, give up a big lead against the Indianapolis Colts. So it still remains to be seen about Super Bowl, but I still see the playoffs in their future. All right, speaking of Bills, let's go ahead and go to the Buffalo Bills. They thrashed, smashed, mashed any other round you want to come up with to the Kansas City Chiefs. They did that to the Kansas City Chiefs. Like you said, the Chiefs have been tailing off, and I've been on board saying this. I think this is the Chiefs' weakest output as far as, their season projections. They're not as strong as, they have been a couple of years. But the Bills right now, they seem to be the top dogs of the AFC. They're first in defense, number one defense. They have a top 10 offense. Surprisingly, they are rushing the ball 140 yards per game. Then that's without, like a bona fide top end running back. I mean, Singletary is all right, but you don't expect 140 yards rushing from the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen has been solid. The question is here, has the Bills passed up the Kansas City Chiefs? Have they taken the AFC torch from the Kansas City Chiefs? Are they now the favorites to come out and go to the Super Bowl?
First of all, before I answer that, Stacey raps, if you guys couldn't tell from the poem just now. Check him out on streaming platforms. No, I mean, I think, the Bills have kind of established themselves already as the favorite, and they were right there with the Chiefs last season, but now I think without a doubt it's them. And last night was a big indicator of that because they've been playing well, and the Chiefs haven't been playing so well so far this season. But last night they went head-to-head, and they demolished them. Like you said, they thrashed, trashed, smashed them. I mean, Josh Allen has been like a pretty clear MVP candidate thus far. Obviously, Diggs is one of the better wide receivers in the league, probably top 5 to top 7. At the lowest would be top 7.
Emmanuel Sanders has reemerged.
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders has been huge for them. And he's the old guy on the team, but he's still fast as ever, and he's been looking great for them. As like a secondary target. Even Dawson Knox as their tight end has been looking solid. And like you said, a big surprise has been the running game because they don't really have a stud in the backfield, but they've been getting it done. And Josh Allen as well is a big part of that. He's a very athletic and just big quarterback, hard to bring down. And their defense as well, like Gregory Rousseau as a rookie, they picked him late first round out of Miami. He's looked great. The secondary, of course, you got Trey White in the backfield, and the secondary, he's looked good as well. Just their whole team has been kind of clicking on all cylinders, and pretty shocking first week loss to the Steelers, but outside of that, they've looked like probably the best team in football so far.
The best team in football, so over the undefeated Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah, I would say so. I think if the Bills and the Cardinals were to play this coming week, the Bills would beat them, might blow them out of the water.
At first, I was hesitant to pass the torch from the Chiefs to the Bills. Like, okay, yeah, the Chiefs are struggling right now, but still, when they're on, they are on. But looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, their defense is such front runners. Like, they don't play well when the game is tight. They don't play well when they're behind. Now, when the Kansas City Chiefs, when they up like 10, 14 points, defense will play great. But, when it's time to, when they need to make a big play, when they need to make a big stop, it hasn't been there. And the defense is ranked, towards, I think that defense like 31st in the NFL. It's terrible. It is terrible. And, Pat Mahomes has not looked like Pat Mahomes, even though, overall his number's solid. But, he has thrown 6 interceptions so far, which matches his total from the previous season. But it's like you want to give the Bills the torch, but I don't know. It's still a long season. Remember, we got 12 more games. We got 12 more games.
17 this season, yeah.
Yeah, we got 12 more games. I'm expecting the Chiefs to right the ship at some point. And, it still remains to be seen. Can the Buffalo Bills get it done in the playoffs and in the huge game? Remember, the Chiefs, the one that ended the Super Bowl run. So I like the Bills. I think I said this before. Now that the AFC, it was like the Chiefs, everybody else. Now we see the Bills are, like right here. So it won't be long, especially if the Chiefs cannot turn around before the Bills take over.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm rooting for the Bills too. I mean, everyone from Toronto is kind of a Bills fan because it's just like it's right there. But they're like a secondary team for me after the Dolphins. So I'm excited. I'm always hoping they do well if they're not playing the Dolphins. So
yeah, I've been wondering this. How the hell did that happen for you? Well, how you just went past the Bills and go all the way to Miami?
Yeah, I was 7 years old when I started watching football. So it kind of just clicks, right? Like the color of their jersey is cool. Their mascot is cool. It's a dolphin. Cool. And that was all I needed. I was 7. And I'm a loyal guy, so it just kind of stuck. But it's been a struggle for sure. I wish I had just kind of gone the natural way and been a Bills fan at this point.
Yeah.
But it's been tough. It's been tough for sure to be a Dolphins fan.
Well, well, maybe something good will come. All right, let's go to the fun time segment where I got some random questions for you. Once again, my guests never know what I'm about to ask until I ask it. So, Ben, are you ready? I'm ready for this? All right, number 1. Who is the MVP right now? Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray?
I'm going to say neither. Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. What a surprising answer. I got Lamar Jackson.
That's fair.
I
would put Lamar over Kyler for sure.
No, okay.
Kyler Murray didn't have that good of a week this week.
No, I mean, 49ers defense ain't nothing to laugh at. So,
yeah, true. Very true.
So, number 2, will Urban Meyer last the whole season with the Jaguars?
No, there's no way. No way. It's impossible. I've seen the video. I have no clue.
I was about to bring it up. What the hell are you doing, man? What are you doing?
Good question. Isn't he married? He's married, right?
I think, I'm not.
Either way, you know what? He's a grown ass man. He's like 65. Yeah. He can't be caught in those types of situations.
No, like
he's having
dude.
Fun, though, I guess it was weird, but.
And then there's a story came out saying he wants to average 250 yards rushing. Like, dude, this is not college. This is not college. It's not.
I guess that makes sense considering he drafted a running back, even though they didn't need one. But what are you talking about? 250.
Yeah, I think he'll last the whole year, but after this year, he's out of there. Yeah, he's going back. Hey, Urban Meyer, I'm gonna tell you this: USC is open. Please, please do it. Do it for everybody. Number 3, give me a percentage here of the Suns repeating as Western Conference champions.
Something low. I'm gonna say 25.
25.
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
Much. I mean, obviously they've got everyone coming back, but I don't know. At this point, I think last season a lot of things went right for them to get to where they got to, and I can't see that happening a second time. But I do love the Suns, and I would like to see them succeed. They're a fun young team. They got Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, and then obviously everyone wants to see CP3 win a ring. But at this point, I don't think enough will go in their favor for them to get back to where they got to.
Yes, no ring for CP3.
Not unless
That's how it's gonna go.
Not unless he chases it.
Oh man. Well, number 4. Number 4. Is Alabama still a favorite to win the college football championship?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Alabama is probably going to be a perennial favorite to win the college championship. They're just stacked. And yes, they lost to Texas A&M. But we've kind of seen all of those top names drop a game so far this season. Clemson's lost 2. Florida's lost 2.
Nah, Clemson weak.
Yeah.
They are. I'm not impressed.
Me neither, which is tough because I do like their QB. I hope we draft him. But, I don't think Alabama losing one game to Texas A&M hurts their odds, at least in my mind, to repeat or three-peat potentially as college football champions. I think they're just a bit too stacked.
Yeah. I respect Alabama, and I like Bryce Young, the quarterback. He reminds me of Jalen Hurts. And I might sound like a hater for saying this.
Yeah.
I'm sick of Alabama winning. I'm tired. I'm ready for a new story. It just made college. It's just like the season ends with a dud. Alabama just wins.
Exactly. Yeah, we kind of expect it. I mean, even Clemson too. Like over the past 6 years, it's been one of those two teams. So it's
yeah.
I want to see someone else break the mold.
Yeah, go Georgia. Go Georgia. Go Penn State. Somebody. Yeah, Iowa. Somebody. But let's go ahead and dedicate some time to the fan and you. Like I said, right around the corner is the start of the NBA season. We got to put a spotlight on your Toronto Raptors. Expectations. What are you expecting from the Toronto Raptors this time around? They still got FanFleet. They still got Siakam. You still got OG Anunoby, and you got a whole bunch of other young pieces, Kim Birch, pieces like that. Last year was tough for them. They didn't make the playoffs. So what are you expecting this time around?
I mean, I kind of said this at the beginning of last season as well, and I ended up having to go back on my words. But I'm going to say like 5-6 seed type range in the East. First of all, in the preseason, and I know it's the preseason, whatever, OG Anunoby's looked great. He's been embarrassing defenses. His shot looks good like it did last season when he shot, I think, hovering around 40% from 3. And obviously losing Lowry hurts, but Dragic is a pretty solid point guard. He was an all-star with the Heat for one season. We got drafted Scotty Barnes, which I'm very happy about.
Sorry, I made that mistake. Scotty Barnes, not Jalen. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. And he's looked great as well. He fits right in with the culture as far as just stretchy wing player, can kind of guard like he can guard 1 through 5 reliably, I would say. He's 6'9", he's got a big wingspan. And then you got guys like Precious Achua as well. Like we got a lot of guys who are just stretchy players and can guard multiple positions and play on offense, in a versatile way. Obviously Siakam and guys like that. So I'm excited for the season. I don't have huge like championship expectations, but I think 5-6 seed, second round of the playoffs, something along those lines is my kind of realistic expectation for the team. But I said that at the beginning of last season too, and we lost a lot of games. But I'm happy that the team's back in Toronto. We played all of last season in Tampa Bay, so I'm just happy that the team's back in the city, and hopefully we'll be able to bounce back from what was a rough year last year.
Yeah. Spoiler alert from my last episode being Toronto Raptors. They're going to be a play-in team, and I doubt they get out the play-in.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
A lot of young pieces on that team. I think all their young pieces can fit, but it's like I've been saying years before, they still don't have that. They never going to replace that whole Kawhi has left.
Yeah,
but they still need
one guy.
They still need that one guy because Pascal Siakam looks to not be that guy.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think he can be that guy to lead you to a big victory,
Yeah.
one of those meaningful games. Fred VanVleet, to me, even though I love his game, I love his heart, he's a microwave scorer. So he's going to heat up, and there's going to be times where he's not going to be there. Losing Kyle Lowry is big as far as that leadership. That leadership is concerned. I wish they drafted Jalen Suggs instead of Scotty Barnes, but because I mean, like, they necessarily don't need Scotty Barnes. I mean, you have OG. So, like, where's Scotty Barnes going to get, those minutes from? Then your center presence, maybe Preston Chua could finally get some minutes. I think he'll be a nice rebounding center in the NBA, but that still remains to be seen. But, their saving grace is coaching. It's coaching. Nick Nurse is a good coach, and they're going to play teams tough, especially in the Eastern Conference. But they are now in that developmental territory to where, their ceiling could be the first round. Yeah. I think they've been knocked back to the same place that the Hornets are in. As far as like we're developing something here, and maybe in a few years you're gonna see us there again. But I think they're a playing team.
I don't hate the take, because especially what you said about Pascal Siakam, I definitely agree with. I think he's an elite number 2 option, as he showed when, we won the chip. He's a pretty bad number 1 option. And he's kind of proven that, right? He kind of has shown that he can't be that guy for a championship contending team. And that's okay. I'm okay with him being our number 2. But if we don't have that number 1, then we're not going to go far in the playoffs. So I can see where you're coming from for sure. I don't know about comparing us to the Hornets now. I'm not sure. But, no, actually, I'm excited to watch the Hornets this year, though. But, I think we might be above them. But, we'll see what happens. I like drafting Scotty Barnes over Jalen Suggs, too, just because Suggs is better right now. I think 2-3 years from now, Scotty Barnes will be probably by far the better player of the two. But, I don't hate where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from for sure.
Okay, so let me go back to what you said. You said you had them in that 5-8 range as far as like seeding.
Yeah, like 5 to 7, 5.
So
6,
so you have them in the mix of, and these are my teams that's gonna be fighting at 5 for 8. The Miami Heat, the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks. So you have them right there with them.
You have the Heat and Celtics outside of the top 4?
Yeah. I have, if you want to know, I have, the Nets. No, hold on. The Bucks, the Nets, 76ers, and I have the Atlanta Hawks.
Really? The Hawks?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they should be. They should be.
Okay, fair. I would put the Heat and Celtics in the top 4 and then take the Sixers and the Hawks down. And I would say, we would be competing with them in that range, because the Sixers are kind of uncertain right now. We don't know what's going on. Hawks are young and still unproven, although they did go far in the playoffs last year. And I think that'll really benefit their team, and they could definitely make some noise this year as well. Even though I don't really like Trae Young, I think he's a good basketball player, and John Collins as well. I think it'll be interesting to see. But that kind of like 5 to 8 range with like those 2 teams, and like you said, the Knicks and teams like that.
All right, so last question about the Toronto Raptors. As far as like as the season progresses, as they go towards the future, now obviously they more than likely never going to land a superstar player
in free agency.
In free agency, just because of where they playing at and their future prospects. What do you think needs to happen in order for Toronto to be as dangerous or close to, being the team in years past?
Just got to draft really well, because I agree with you. It's tough for Toronto to land kind of superstar guys in that sense, because of the kind of reserved energy that people feel around Toronto. They don't want to come here because there's a lot of stuff with like taxes and you got to go through customs. I've heard guys complain you got to go through customs every time you go to an away game. But I think just as far as how we can get that kind of stud guy that we need to replace Kawhi, I think, yeah, I agree with you. We're not going to be able to land someone in free agency. So we just got to draft really well. And we're lucky we got a really good developmental system that's built guys like Siakam, Van Vliet, OG Anunoby, even before with, DeMar DeRozan and guys like that. So I think we just got to develop really well. And whether that means tanking and getting a pick like Amani Bates or Jalen Duren, Chet Holmgren, whoever ends up being that kind of top 5 range this year, whether that means or trading up to a high pick and getting someone like that, like involving Pascal Siakam in a trade for someone like that potentially, getting a draft pick, drafting a stud, and developing them really well in our system, which we've been able to do to a lesser degree so far. And maybe, Scotty Barnes is the top 4 pick. Maybe he's that guy for us. We picked Chris Bosh at 4 too when he was relatively unproven. So we'll see what happens. But I think we really have to rely on drafting big time to fill that hole that Kawhi left.
All right. Toronto, let's see what y'all got this coming season. Like I said, NBA right around the corner, featuring the Raptors, featuring the Lakers, of course. It's going to be an exciting season. NFL, we're going to continue pressing forward, see what happens with Kyrie and Ben Simmons and all that. This was the end. This is the end of Stacey on Sports Podcast Show. Once again, I am your host, Stacey Carter II, the voice of sports. Ben, go ahead and plug your social medias. Where can people find you?
It's at Okazawa Ben on Twitter, and that's my main sport media, social media. So you can find me at Okazawa Ben on Twitter.
Okazawa Ben, one of the greatest last names I ever heard of. So until next time, I'll see everybody later. Be sure to check out my other episode with DeAndre Branch, and follow me, SOS Show, Twitter _SOS Show.